Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the video. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my Malcolm and Marie's spoiler-free review. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. I want to start off this review by saying that it was actually pretty underwhelming personally. There were a lot of reasons behind it, but the biggest thing for me was it just felt like it was forcing too much for us to pick a side. Another movie that I was really comparing this one to was Marriage Story. And in that movie, they gave both sides of the story, and as you keep going on with the story, then you start to pick sides. But here they try to make you pick sides in the very beginning by telling you one side of the story. Yes, they only told one side of the story in Marriage Story, and then they told the second side. But in Marriage Story, it didn't seem nearly as forced as it was here. It seemed like they were building up too many small sub-items that were kind of bothering them in their relationship, but it never actually ended up paying off or having any real importance at the end. Like I said before about taking sides, it felt like it was too structured to make us tell sides. Like it wasn't actually telling a full story. It wasn't actually letting like conversation flow. I felt like they were interrupting each other at like certain beats in the conversation. Nothing just felt normal. It all felt like it was, obviously it's staged because it's a movie, but it just felt super staged. It didn't feel natural. One of the other issues I had with the movie was the dialogue, and this really ties into how the movie really didn't flow for me, especially when they had back and forth conversation. The dialogue was great until they started using unconventional words to kind of pull me out, because again, the conversations just didn't feel natural when they were using those big words. No one ever really talks like that. Especially the backstory of Marie's character. You would never expect her to actually be speaking the way she does in this movie, and it feels like it's just too much acting. It doesn't feel like a normal person would speak like that. Like I said before, the back and forth conversation always felt super forced between the two. But on the other hand, the scenes where they're just talking like to themselves or to the other person isn't really responding, they're just showing emotions. In those scenes where the person is talking, that's when I feel like the dialogue is actually really great. It feels like we're actually seeing a side of the speaker, and then the person who's not speaking and just sitting there listening, is you can also see on their face, you can tell their emotions, and you can tell their reaction to what the other person is saying without them actually having to say anything. In the back and forth conversations, I feel like the reactions of the characters does more than the actual dialogue, and I don't think that's a really good thing. Most of these problems all fade away towards the second half of the movie. The second half of the movie was like 10 times better than the first half. It just felt like everything was genuinely flowing. The movie was actually moving forward. There was actually a lot of stuff going on at once, and they actually ended up tying together. The first half of the movie was a really stupid, dumb backstory. Like the reasoning for Marie's character to be mad at Malcolm's character was honestly really stupid in my opinion. But in the second half of the story, they actually started to flesh out the ideas instead of just giving out backstory on what's happened in the past. The dialogue, again, was 10 times better in the second half of the movie, but I felt like all the stuff that started to get better, one thing that started to lack was the cinematography. In the beginning of the movie, I was super surprised as to how well everything flowed. And one reason why it flowed well, not the conversations, of course, the conversations were still really rugged and just, it didn't feel right. But the cinematography and the way the spacing was created inside of one house and the way they utilized the outside of the house was really great in my opinion. And obviously that all just leads back to camera work. I don't really have much to say about his acting. It was just pretty top tier. I would say in comparison to Marriage Story, it was better than Scarlett Johansson's, but it wasn't better than Adam Driver's. It was just in between there, but obviously I'm gonna go a little bit higher on the scale and put him next to Adam Driver. Not above, but probably just slightly lower. I don't know, man. I really liked his performance. It just felt super like natural to me. Even when he was using those big words, the backstory of his character shows why he's using those big words. He grew up in like a privileged lifestyle, whereas Marie's character wasn't really in that privileged lifestyle, so it didn't really make sense for her to be using those words. Also, the way that Malcolm's character really like kind of expanded himself, he didn't really have real character development throughout the story, but just through the acting you could tell he was becoming more mature throughout the conversation. Now, Zendaya's performance is probably going to be one of the more controversial ones when talking about this movie. To me, in the first half of the movie, it was honestly terrible. I honestly hated it. It was super awkward whenever she was speaking or even just doing normal things. I don't know what it was. I felt unnatural to me. It didn't feel like she was playing some fancy person. It actually felt like she was playing a normal human being, and I feel like that's what she was doing best. Not to say that she can't play someone fancy, it's just the backstory of her character didn't really make sense for her to be playing someone fancy. I keep mentioning her backstory. I'm not going to tell you guys because it's really surprising when you first get to hear it and the way that they implement it into the whole story. But just the way that all of her personalities, or basically her ideas in her head, mesh up, it just doesn't add up whenever you see her in the first half of the movie. I didn't feel like Malcolm's character had too much character development as a character himself, but I felt like emotionally he had a lot of growth in the movie, just because I felt like in the beginning of the movie he was like getting like super mad, and then towards the middle of the movie his enragement just started to go like off the charts. But towards the end, I feel like his character started to calm down, kind of realizing what was actually going on in his relationship. There's a lot of subplots in this movie that elevate Malcolm's character just because he doesn't have that inside character development. It's mostly outside stuff affecting him. Now, character development is really important, especially when it comes to Zendaya's character, Marie. Her character development, again, in the second half was super awesome. I felt like they did more in the second half of the movie than they did in the first half. She seems to have hidden the actual reason as to why she's mad at Malcolm, and when she finally says it, when it finally comes out, that's when you actually start to realize why her character is the way she is. Yes, this does fall back into the kind of forcing us to pick sides, but I feel like in the second half of the movie, again, it's just more natural. It felt like her character was actually genuinely trying to figure this stuff out. It didn't feel like it was staged or scripted, just because the way they built her character in the second half of the movie. Overall, this movie was pretty good. It wasn't anything super crazy. It wasn't Marriage Story level, but it wasn't anything like under average. Personally, I'll give this movie anywhere from a 7.5 to an 8. I'm gonna stick with a 7.5 for now. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say in this video. I'm gonna be doing a spoiler review on my Third Thoughts episode coming out this Sunday. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on so you get notified anytime I upload a new video or I go live. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time. Peace.